Maliki, Poison of the Past. This is pretty. It's, for lack of better words, cutesy. It's pretty girl-forward cast with a really chibi kind of everybody looks like a plushie art style. Like every one of these characters you could just grab in a claw game somewhere, I imagine, which is pretty cool. I was digging the art style. It falls into almost that like cozy game category, except
okay.
it's a turn-based RPG.
I was just about to say, like, this combat doesn't look too cozy.
Yeah, exactly. You're still at the end of the day, you're fighting monsters with your party members and taking evil head on. So this game surprisingly has like a pretty gripping story, despite how cute it looks. I was actually pretty immersed in what's gonna happen because you play as Sand, who has by chance found herself lost in a bit of a weebly wobbly timey-wimey conundrum. The fabric of space and time is ripping open from this poison from the past, and with the help of Maliki, you're here to mend things and sort of patch things up. You've got one of your first party members, Fang, is the real brains of the operation there. She's kind of like Luca and Chrono Trigger, like a lot of parallels. All hair, just all ponytail and really blunt bangs. So we could sit here and talk about their outfits and fashion all day, which I'm sure the ladies want to hear about. But yeah, the art style could be a miss for some. But I was into it, and I think it really fits. Same thing with the music. There's actually like a really good soundtrack that I found to be like really complimentary to like the atmosphere of the game.
Very nice.
Yeah, so there's a lot of fun science fiction, especially when Fang starts explaining about like anything that's going on with the time and how you're fixing it. But the poison is pretty much like a bunch of bramble vines, like an intelligent, natural, almost eldritch alien creature that's sort of finding its way through time and just really making a mess of things. But there's this weird tie-in between the poison and Maliki that it's instead of like, two anime characters going, will they, won't they fall in love? It's like, well, are they good? Are they bad? Is the evil the same as the good? Are the humans the real monster hunters here? Like, and that was a good story hook for me anyway. It really landed. I was really hooked to the point where I wanted to keep playing. But not just these RPG mechanics, there's also a little bit of like Farmville farm simulator stuff going on. Every time you sort of go out on an expedition in a different time setting, eventually you kind of come back and clear some brush, harvest some hay, grow some crops. You take off again, you come back, and you pick up more plants and stuff. But I don't know how valuable a lot of that is. Like, it was fun and pretty addictive. It didn't feel tedious, but I'm pretty sure the crafting and stuff, like you don't make a lot of gear. You mostly just make food. So you get like a food bonus during all your fights and like your expeditions out into the messed up time world. But to be honest, I didn't eat much in the game. Like, I didn't use a lot of the bonuses, but man, did I want to come back and keep like growing crops and stuff. And like, it's pretty cool. You can unlock new recipes by like talking to people in time. But there's this cool dynamic of like, these areas have been frozen, but when you're outside of what's called the domain, and the domain is where you do all your like your Farmville stuff. And as you progress, you unlock new areas where you can farm more stuff and the like.
Oh, so your farm is ever like it's like growing all the time, or is it more like just in segmented areas that you can kind of like flip back and forth between?
They're in like segmented areas that you kind of unlock. Like every time you beat a boss, you get what's called a breath of life, and you feed it to the grand mother tree that you're trying to restore to like patch up time and all its rips and tears and things like that. Where this game kind of falls short is you know, I don't think it's a bad thing in a turn-based RPG when you can just like mash the A or the X button and just like attack. But they put the attack command next to like the cancel button, B, and it requires just that little bit more forethought when choosing different commands and stuff. But for the most part, all the like RPG stuff is really streamlined, and it's deep enough to be fun, but not to be like complicated. So it's really easy to pick up if like, say this is your first turn-based RPG and you don't want to put a whole lot of thought into like your gear and equipment and stuff. Like this is actually perfect for that. Like if you don't want to dive into, you know, a whole, I don't know, Final Fantasy or Chrono Trigger, like worrying about all your gears or your materia and stuff.
That old school grind.
Yeah, like, but at the same time, the combat gets pretty tough, and like there are situations where you don't really know what you're walking into, and like you can get wiped. But autosave is also kind of very forgiving. Anytime you walk past one of these portals that you use to like fast travel anywhere, it gives you a nice little autosave, and it like replenishes your health and your technique points. So it kind of walks this like pretty cool line of like, oh, okay, like I'm playing an actual RPG, like I'm being rewarded like it, but there's still some like tough little landmines you might walk into. And actually there isn't like a shop really. Like I've played like 12, almost 14 hours into this game, and like I didn't buy or craft a single healing potion, which you know, if you've been out of town for a little too long, you kind of need some. But from what I can tell, the only way you really, yeah, it's defense bonus or heal more after battles or increase your chance of escape. Like, yeah, it's kind of like they're buffs, but like, you know, do you even have the right ingredients to make the kind of buffs that you want? Or like, I hope you farmed them, but which is actually pretty fun to make. But yeah, I can't craft a healing potion in this game yet, which, you know, might get in the way for somebody who isn't like experienced or like knows what to look for when doing these turn-based RPG things.
So it sounds like it has a good base of fundamentals, but it kind of it streamlines like the things that you would think are associated with these kinds of games, but it puts the emphasis on other things. But it really does like the strategy overall, as opposed to like the I guess item management, that old school style like menu mashing.
Yeah,
right?
it's not Suikoden or whatever. But another thing that sets this game apart is you eventually get 4 party members, and each one has a different sort of puzzle solving mechanic. So unlike, you know, your traditional grindy RPGs, there's a bit more deep like puzzling going on in here, because Fang can move objects or people in time, and no, that's Sand. Sand is the main character that you play as. She moves people and objects in time. Fang can lift up heavy things with her sci-fi laser. The farmer Becky, she has a pitchfork, so she stabs things. and our little nature sprite friend, whose name I can barely pronounce as well, Fanmail.
Fanmail.
She controls, like, she's real good with plants, and she can bend plants to her bidding and stuff. So in combination, like each of these 4 sort of like puzzle solving abilities, it's actually pretty fun to like, Rubik's Cube away at how to get to the next area and stuff. That I thought was something really unique and pretty fun, and that I don't get out of most of my RPGs. Kind of like the I want to say it's like the latest Zelda game where you play as Zelda, and it's like, oh cool,
Yes.
I can move, I can manipulate objects to clear paths and stuff. So that was actually pretty cool, and kind of gives the game its unique identity next to the chibi plushy art style.
Yeah, sounds pretty solid then. So
Yeah, actually.
so what was the thing that
Um,
like you really was there anything you really didn't like about this?
Mostly is that the farm simulation elements like borders on irrelevant or useless. I want to say if I put another week into it, it would really blossom, but I don't think there's a whole lot of mechanics that could show up that would really, put the food bonus back under the table or whatever. Um, there's also a couple, like sometimes the puzzle controls can be a little finicky, and again, like just sort of where they placed the basic attack command like doesn't flow for like streamlined gameplay for me. So like the controls when puzzling and like a little bit of combat things, it can be a little finicky, and also kind of some weird hidden camera tricks. Like there's not a lot, but enough of like things being blocked by objects where it's like, oh, you could have moved the camera over here and I would have seen that enemy coming, or like, oh, there's a tall cathedral building and now I don't know where I am underneath it like that
no.
well. It's not as, it doesn't detract a lot, but it does enough where it's like, okay, this isn't a AAA game, like this is an indie darling.
Yeah, the indie.
So yeah, pretty much like if the art style and like cozy feel is a miss for you, then this, you might be able to pass this one up. But if you're into this, if you're looking for that like all female cast of time traveling adventurers, this is right up your alley. But for me, I didn't feel like I had a good time farming. Don't get me wrong. I was harvesting these crops and I felt the need to continue with the adventure.
Harvest Moon.
Yeah, exactly. I felt the drive, the call to adventure, even if it was just to make my farm better and cooler and unlock new stuff to craft. But it, all in all, it kind of felt like it was kind of like separate entities, like the farming and the adventuring. But you're trying to get nature back together, so eventually the sort of credits you earn from farming, add up to healing nature a little sooner than you would. But all in all, this game was really close to a 4, but I gotta give it a 3 out of 5.
I hear ya, yeah.